bum, ba-da-da-da-dum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum.
To the window, to the wall, to the sweat drop, on down my balls, to all these bitches crawl. I'll skeet, motherfucker, I'll skeet, god damn.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast to go to all-state choir 4 straight years.
That's right, all 4 years. I'm the worst of all possible Brian.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
We are talking about the movie originally called Raiders of the Lost Ark and is now called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes. This has literally turned itself into the 1940s serials that it styled itself on, right?
Yeah. This is our first real, George Lucas thing that we're talking about, aside from LucasArts. But, we haven't gone into Star Wars or THX 1138 or American Graffiti or anything like that.
We have, of course, covered another notable George Lucas Spielberg collaboration.
It's the pig.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Yes,
The
of course.
Dig, the computer game.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done a lot more with George Lucas and his relationship with video games than we have with his relationship to movies. But we have covered a fair number of Steven Spielberg projects, notably ones that we don't like.
We don't care for them. And so we thought, you know what? It's time we gave the Steven Spielberg guy, I've heard, pretty good director.
Occasionally, yeah. He can do some stuff.
I think this movie is remarkable considering it came out right after 1941.
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
and he must be so grateful that it did,
Yes,
considering how 1941 turned out for him. Which, again, have to say, it made money, but it underperformed, and it was widely disliked by all the people whose opinions kind of matter in Hollywood. Yeah,
That's what makes it so interesting going into this movie. I feel like I now appreciate Indiana Jones and specifically Raiders a lot more now that I have seen 1941. I've seen all of the ways that movie fucks up, and you can see Spielberg making amends for the fuck-ups in that movie.
He even
in this one
reuses a gag.
I do think it's also really interesting how much he actually trusts the wide shot in this in a way he absolutely does not in 1941. He just lets gags happen.
It's interesting. This movie moves the camera about as much as it does in 1941, but in 1941, all of those camera moves are, look at what we're doing. We're making the craziest scenario possible. And here, if you're not actively watching for it, you're not actually seeing how much the camera is moving.
No.
He does these big, long takes, and I think this is because he's from television, because he started doing Night Gallery in Colombo. And we talked about with Columbo how there would be all these really long takes, but they're not Children of Men takes. They're doing a long take because then you can get it done in 2 hours and move on to your next scene because it's for TV. And here he does these same big, long, they call them, there's even a name for him, the Spielberg oneer. There's that great Every Frame a Painting about how he couches exposition in these kinds of shots, which are also very similar to what you'd see in a Michael Curtiz movie. There is so much Casablanca in this film.
I had the exact same thought, which we've also talked about on this show. I am curious about you guys and your experience or history with Indiana Jones as a character, with the movies. For me, I saw Raiders for the first time at a sleepover when I was 14 years old, and it's the perfect sleepover movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's at a point where your brain is primed to be blown by it.
Yeah.
I have never had that experience with this movie because this is just a movie that I've always known. I couldn't tell you the first time I've seen it. Any of the Indiana Jones movies, any of the Star Wars movies, they were all just a part of the landscape for me. Although I didn't see the full movie until I was probably an adult.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's just a picture of 4-year-old Brian with a bullwhip and a fedora.
There is an episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds that we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark, actually. It was the third episode, the second recording session when we talked about Gone Home.
Oh, my God.
Because
Did we?
in Gone Home...
Yes, the videotapes.
They're looking around. You look around the house and you see the old blank tapes that have labels on them and stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked about the stuff that our parents would tape off of TV. So my parents had a whole shelf of MASH tapes. Big surprise.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about that the MASH collection because my grandparents would tape that and mail that up to us when we lived in Washington and didn't have any TV.
That's just lovely.
But we also had a bunch of movies this way, and my parents would even like edit over movies that were otherwise fine, but they didn't like the drinking in them or the gruesome violence or whatever. Raiders we had taped off of TV, and at the part where everything gets really fucking violent and crazy and people's faces melt and everything, you can just see the channel change. And my mom switches over to the next channel over, which is showing Popeye. And there's just like a Popeye cartoon.
That's so funny.
And then it briefly goes back, and then you still see the face melt. And then it goes back to Popeye for a few more seconds.
Oops. I saw Last Crusade first. That was my first exposure to Indiana Jones, which is not a bad way to do it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of prefer Last Crusade to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, you like dad stuff.
I do like dad stuff.
And that's a movie about dad.
And I think they have a lot of like really wonderful comedy and chemistry in that. I think comedy is sharper in Last Crusade than it is in Raiders because they're still trying to like figure out the lay of the land. I think what they do is really, really remarkable in this movie, but again, nostalgia glasses on probably. I just prefer Last Crusade.
The gags are really sharp in Last Crusade, like the point where they meet Hitler, when they throw the guy off the Zeppelin, the lady who just stares at them for 5 seconds before screaming, "Alarm!"
Yep. But did you watch Raiders when you were a kid?
No, I mean, in parts and bits and pieces, I was told that the face melting scene would really scar me. My mom was very hypervigilant about certain stuff about that when I was younger.
Like keeping the black and white sections of the Wizard of Oz
away from me! No gulch for you.
The witch, fine.
Witch, fine. No,
not her human Kansan form.
Counterpart.
In fairness, you were a very sensitive child.
I was.
We know this
I had a really difficult time differentiating reality from fantasy. That was my big problem. And
you just had a fear of Margaret Hamilton in black and white. You saw Going My Way when you were young, and it just horrified you.
And it was really horrible wandering around the city in 2015, just seeing advertisements for her musical everywhere. It was just Hamilton everywhere you looked.
But her musical would be Wicked because she was the.
Well, she had two musicals then. She had two. I think genuinely this is the first time I watched the movie all the way through.
Wow.
Okay.
I had seen it in bits and pieces, and it's good.
Also, the basis for maybe the best theme park ride ever.
Oh, I rode that. That's the thing.
That thing scared the shit out of me.
I rode that theme park ride more than I'd seen the movie.
Yeah.
Like I loved the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland.
This is a movie that is fun and it has no problems whatsoever.
No.
Great.
Nope.
End of episode.
Done.
So many possible worlds. So we got this.
What's that on the horizon? Oh, racism.
Yeah, well,
Voltaire.
Let's talk a little bit about George Lucas, though, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's talk about the man who loves his old-timey movie racism.
The world's horniest man.
George Lucas loves three things, I think, more than anything. Mm-hmm. He loves Norman Rockwell paintings. I think he has the most Norman Rockwell paintings of
did not know this.
Person in the world.
Really?
Yeah, he's displaying all of them at his new museum that's opening sometime this year.
Oh, Norman Rockwell is to George Lucas what the Alamo is to Phil Collins?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
That is 100% true. And he also loves, of course, fast cars.
Fast cars.
He doesn't race them anymore.
Yeah, no, because he almost died.
He almost died when he was in high school.
There's another world where he might have ended up becoming a race car driver or dead. Instead of, like, the movies were the second thing.
Yes.
If his street racing career didn't take off.
Which is what American Graffiti is mostly about. It's about cruising in California and about car
his
culture.
Childhood.
Yeah,
I feel like this is as good of a moment as any to read one of my favorite tweets of all time.
Yes, please.
Alternate timeline where an autism vaccine was made. George Lucas driving the longest car you've ever seen through Harlem. What the fuck y'all know about this? Starts playing Sing, Sing, Sing so hard that it causes black 9/11.
Who did this? There's a great that tweet ends up leading to a great long thread that explains every part of the joke, but it says something about me that I totally understood it the first time I read it. Because I know a lot about George Lucas.
Yeah.
I know his ins and outs. I was a huge Star Wars fan when I was a kid. Like I really like George Lucas for a time was my favorite filmmaker ever. He was the first person to really get me to understand that there are people behind movies, and not just the little people who live in your TV screen, who they have to make smaller and smaller now that the TVs are so flat. I was always
regular Paper Mario.
I was always worried what the Fraggles were up to when the show ended.
They were rocking.
I was also very scared of credits when they'd scroll
You were
up,
scared of them?
I thought they were going to come out of the TV and get me.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Like, I grew out of it.
Wait, that's what the bullet was for.
I eventually turned 16.
Were you also afraid of like logos when they would pop up? Were you one of those people
No, I
who
was
was
not
like,
afraid of the Screen Gems logo.
okay, because
no.
that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people like the WGBH logo is the scariest thing I have ever seen.
There's actually a documentary from the guy who did Room 237, that documentary about like people's conspiracy theories about The Shining. He did a short about the Screen Gems logo from the 70s and how that scared people. No, that's ridiculous. That's not anywhere near as scary as scrolling credits.
They're coming for you. They just keep coming, you know? Wait, were you afraid they were going to come out and get you, or that they were going to hit the tiny people in the TV? Like,
no, I was worried that, like, I think our TV, you know, it had like a plastic seam at the top that faced out, so I thought they were going to come out and I guess just shoot at me. I don't fucking like not shoot at me with guns. Like, they were going to shoot out of the
like
TV,
the words themselves that you would have to dodge
straight at my head.
That you were living in Don Hertzfeldt's Rejected cartoons that like they were going to fall on.
So the Star Wars crawl must have actually been very calming to you.
Going
because they were
away.
going away.
There's no way. That's just going to hit the Fraggles as they're sitting in the back waiting for their show to come on.
Down in Fraggles. Oh, God!
Well, that was the funny thing about watching Star Wars as a kid, not to get too derailed by Star Wars, is that
George Lucas.
you could never read the fucking opening crawl because it was in standard definition on a TV that wasn't wide yet.
Exactly.
They hadn't made
cropped
those.
out the sides
So it's like
of it for
period
the thing.
of Rebel Galaxy. Great. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's
now we're
the
good.
movie.
I mean, the title crawl is helpful, but I don't ever think it's like necessary to understand.
No, you can watch the whole movie
happening.
without the crawl. The whole idea of the crawl, and this is where it relates back to Indiana Jones, is that Star Wars is designed like a 1930s, 40s movie serial.
Yes.
A pre-television idea of like going and seeing a different installment of a movie every week or two. That is like, when they would do the previously on, it wasn't like a montage showing you all the things that happened previously. It would just be a scroll of text of like, here's the shit that Flash Gordon did last week in case you missed it.
Yeah, good luck.
And another thing that Indy and Star Wars have in common is that when we meet these characters for the first time, they've already had some shit going on.
Yeah.
And with Raiders of the Lost Ark, instead of an opening crawl, we basically start at the end of another Indiana Jones movie.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great way to drop you, just into the deep end immediately. And as somebody who has written serialized stuff before, you do kind of need a version of the opening crawl in order to make those things work, whether that's in the form of an opening monologue or something to catch the audience up. But to catch you all up on the history of George Lucas.
Previously on The Worst of All Possible Worlds.
We on the Day of the Tentacle episode, we did go into a little bit about George Lucas's backstory, but just to like catch everybody up, these are just the bullet points, right? He went to USC and he got a scholarship while he was there to work on any movie that Warner Brothers was currently producing, and he chose Finian's Rainbow, which was being directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And Coppola takes a huge shine to Lucas, right? And they co-found together this studio called American Zoetrope, which is Coppola's attempt to get out of the studio system by self-financing all of his pictures going forward.
Yeah, something that Francis Ford Coppola is famously very good at doing.
He's extremely good at it. Don't ask any more questions.
Helped produce Lucas's first major film, which was THX 1138.
Yep, based on Lucas's short film In School. They got Robert Duvall on this thing.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
Me neither.
Even if you don't know THX 1138, and you probably don't unless you're like a film person, you probably do know the initials THX.
Yeah.
And that is because... exactly. And that is because... Oh my God.
That was the experience of watching.
That sounds about right. Another thing that made people very scared.
Yes. Well, it was always like, oh no, mom's going to yell at me because now the TV got super fucking loud.
Go. But George Lucas, throughout his entire career, had an interest as well in the technical side of filmmaking.
Oh, yeah.
And so THX Sound was yet another part of his
Industrial Light and Magic, like, spree, basically.
Exactly, where it was like, this is a set of standards for sound in film.
And not just standards, and, it's not just a house that does sound design on production, but in the movie theaters as well. This was basically the first system ever designed to unify the calibration of sound from one theater to another.
Right. It's like Dolby Vision or Dolby Digital, which is another similar set of standards.
Yeah, it blinded me with science.
And so he releases his second picture, American Graffiti, in 1973, that's about cruising culture. Not that kind of cruising culture.
George Lucas made a movie about his teenage years, a very hot topic at the time to write about, like the early 60s and the 50s and all this shit. American Graffiti is like, I don't know, people have heard of it now. It was huge, though.
Now we're at a point where Lucas can be like, okay, I want to actually like incorporate this serials idea I have into a movie. Yeah. And the first idea he has is for a film called The Adventures of Indiana Smith, which he cannot fully get developed. Right?
Yeah, he basically comes up, he's just like brainstorming serial ideas, and he's like, okay, 1930s adventure and then 1930s sci-fi adventure. Both of these ideas get fleshed out a little bit at the exact same time. One ends up becoming Star Wars, and then one he ends up sitting on for a few years.
Part of the reason that nobody wants to pick up Indiana Smith is that there was a Steve McQueen movie in 1966 called Nevada Smith.
yes, which Spielberg like insists that they change the name in one of their first meetings that they have together. But
then George Lucas is like, what about Jones? And then it's like, okay, great, we got the movie.
We got the movie. But in this first initial meeting where they're talking about hashing out like story ideas or whatever, there's a story by credit on this film from a man named Philip Kaufman, who is the director of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
The remake, with Donald Sutherland.
Yes, and with Quills as well, which is a movie that is about the Marquis de Sade, but what if the Marquis de Sade was actually in love and a nice guy? It's based on a Doug Wright play. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. Jeffrey Rush is a great Marquis de Sade. But Philip Kaufman is most famous, I think, for like all the projects that he just never got made. There's a Star Trek movie, but it seems like he spent a lot of time in Hollywood getting paid for projects that just never fully saw the light of day.
And he is the origin for the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes.
He created it. He put it in the Bible.
Yes, he did.
No, the Ark of the Covenant, the Nazi hunting for artifacts thing, that was real. That was a real thing Nazis were doing. They were trying to find the Spear of Longinus. They were trying to.
That's what the.
Why did I say
Longinus?
It says that's how they call it in Evangelion. It's Longinus, obviously, or Longinus. Long anus. That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
In a world where the autism vaccine is invented, George Lucas arrives in Harlem in the longest anus you've ever seen.
What the fuck y'all know about this?
What the fuck y'all know about this spear of long anus?
That's what I call it. No.
What do you call it?
Don't.
No, come on. What do you call it?
No, I don't call anything that.
What do you call it?
Is that what I call it?
We can't keep making fun of ancient Roman names. We have so many ancient Roman listeners.
That is true. They're always thinking about it every day, thinking about ancient Rome.
Do ancient Romans think about us the way we think about them?
Just looking at the Patreon, we got a really angry DM from a guy named Demetrius. I don't know who this is, but he's quite upset.
He's taking away his denarii. His 5 denarii a month are just being rescinded.
Yeah, that'll do that to you.
So anyway, Philip Kaufman was originally who Lucas had in mind to direct it, right? Because at this point, Star Wars has come out, and surprise, it's a hit.
Yeah.
It's a huge hit. And the only reason Star Wars exists is because Lucas wanted to adapt Flash Gordon and could not get the rights to it.
So what Lucas and Spielberg do, or at least did back in the day on the openings of their movies, is they'd go to Hawaii. I knew this because of a story involving Richard Donner where he did the Goonies, and he didn't really like working with kids.
Okay.
And so when he went to Hawaii during the time that the movie was coming out and everything and waiting to hear back on the grosses and everything, Steven Spielberg secretly invited all of the kids to Hawaii.
That is so fucking funny.
Yes!
So, Close Encounters and Star Wars, they had come out around the same time. Close Encounters was the one that Lucas was like, this is going to be the winner. And Spielberg was like, Star Wars is going to be the winner, all this stuff. They're friends. They have a good time. And so they're hanging out in Hawaii.
They made a bet famously about this.
Yeah.
Right. They made a bet on each other's movie where they each got like a share in like the back end. And one version of the story that they tell, they say that they're building a sand castle on the beach while they're doing this. Yeah. But this is when George Lucas pitches him on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, where he pitches him on the idea of it, and Spielberg's like, that sounds cool, but you know what? I'm really angling to direct a Bond picture.
Yeah.
I really want to direct a James Bond movie. And Lucas is like, well, it's okay because I got my buddy Kaufman to do it instead. And then Kaufman's like, I actually can't do this because I need to direct a film called The Outlaw Josie Wales. So,
wait, Spielberg was genuinely angling to direct a James Bond film?
He was.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why this feels so much like a James Bond
really
movie.
does, especially the first sequence.
Yes, and
I would argue also the U-boat base at the end of the movie too. It's like, oh, we're in a Bond movie.
Mm-hmm. We're just fully in a Bond movie.
Secret Island.
Again, another bit, I mean, we'll get to the U-boat later, but another bit where he's reusing something from 1941, someone hanging out on the periscope of a submarine.
Oh, yeah. The trifecta is not complete yet. We need a screenwriter for all this nonsense. Yeah. So enter Lawrence Kasdan, who is a writer who is particularly adept at writing the connective tissue between large set pieces. Mm-hmm. I think he might be one of the best in the business.
He's also a screenwriter for The Empire Strikes Back,
notably.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
And for Solo, a Star Wars story.
Right.
I believe, I mean, he was basically a guy that they would call on any Star Wars movie, Return of the Jedi.
But I didn't realize it was the same guy as Empire, and that makes all of this make so much sense. To your point of the connective tissue between these big-ass set pieces.
Yes. And he wrote a movie called Continental Divide, and Amblin Entertainment bought that. I think Spielberg was originally going to direct it, but didn't. Yeah. This movie ends up being directed by Michael Apted, and it stars a certain Belushi brother. Guess which one? I'll give you a hint.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the same one who's in 1941.
Okay. I know this, but Josh, you have to guess.
You can write it on a ballot and pass it to me if you want.
John.
Yay! Here's the thing. The answer is actually always John.
Yes.
For anything we're ever going to talk about on this show, it's always John except Twin Peaks.
Look forward to our episode on According to John.
God damn it!
I feel like Kasdan, again, has written Continental Divide. He had been working professionally as a screenwriter for exactly 1 month when he is brought into a room for 5 days in January of 1978 to just hash out the outline that Kaufman and Lucas had come up with Lucas and Spielberg now.
Yeah, so they're all three sitting around this table. Kaufman's not there. He's gone. They killed him. He died.
Oh, no!
Which is too bad, because if he hadn't died, he would have made the autism vaccine.
That is true. And in this meeting, right, they have basically all their hyperfixations they throw at the script, and Kasdan says, like, pretty much from the word go, I knew that my job was to connect all of the set pieces that these two guys wanted to do. And so they throw in Lucas's obsession with Mifune into the character of Indiana Jones and sort of the stoic samurai character.
He's also a bit of a Humphrey Bogart character in...
mostly the hat.
Mostly the hat, and specifically the hat from The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Some of the other things that they're pulling from, the serialized movies. So these include Tim Tyler's Luck and Jungle Jim, Jim, which are...
No, Jungle John. I believe it's Jungle John.
I think you're
Tim
right.
Tyler's Luck and Jungle Jim were based on comic strips, and they were adapted into these theatrical serials. I think both of those were Universal. But then there were a couple of feature-length films like King Solomon's Mines from 1950, which I watched last night, a Sam Zimbalist movie. The movie itself is just kind of a travelogue. It's an interesting example of like 1950s Technicolor footage of very remote parts of Africa, which makes it interesting, but it's actually kind of a boring movie.
So is it just like, here's all the places King Solomon went to?
No. It's like Indiana Jones. So it's like they're trying to find this spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're mostly looking for a person, and then they stumble across King Solomon's legendary mines where all of Solomon's gold and jewels and wherever came from.
I love when I happen upon jewels.
Yeah, and that's based on an Alan Quatermain story.
Oh,
these are more famous over in the UK. Americans don't really know these stories, but of course, he's the main character in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's why the name sounds familiar.
So that's the only thing. I know him from Alan Moore comics. The whole look of Indiana Jones is off of Charlton Heston in Secret of the Incas, which came out in 1954. And then, of course, they're also drawing from like The Mummy, which is also about 1930s. It is the 1930s, and it's about archaeologists. And one of the ones that they'd never talk about, but is 100% a major source for essentially the last act of the movie, is a noir film called Kiss Me Deadly. This is a very influential movie. It's also the basis for The Briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the ending of Kiss Me Deadly, which will be totally spoiler spoiler did for everyone.
No, I was going to watch that.
Yeah,
it's on the list too. I was getting around to it, but now, unfortunately.
Either way. So we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to the ending of this film.
So at this pitch meeting, they also have a conversation about the exact relationship between Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood.
Yeah, Marion, the love interest.
The love interest.
Marion the librarian.
And,
yeah.
I think we should just read this out loud because in the movie, this is left pretty ambiguous.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Right? Very wisely, it is left ambiguous.
Yeah.
So we here are going to read it. I will be George Lucas. Brian, do you want to be Spielberg?
Sure.
And then if you would want to be Kazdan, we have to get them cemented into a very strong relationship, a bond.
I like it if they already had a relationship at one point, because then you don't have to build it.
I was thinking that this old guy could have been his mentor. He could have known this little girl when she was just a kid, had an affair with her when she was 11.
And he was 42.
He hasn't seen her in 12 years. Now she's 22. It's a real strange relationship.
She had better be older than 22. That's not me, although it's also me.
It is also me.
That is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, but just in case you think Spielberg's off the hook for this, he's 35 and he knew her 10 years ago when he was 25 and she was only 12. It would be amusing to make her slightly young at the time.
And promiscuous. She came on to him.
What?
See, he's woke. He's like, he can't have Indy be the aggressor.
15 is right on the edge.
Oh, my God.
I know it's an outrageous idea, but it is interesting. Once she's 16 or 17, it's not interesting anymore.
George, what are you talking about? This is Josh Borman saying this.
But if she was 15 and he was 25 and they actually had an affair the last time they met and she was madly in love with him and... she
has pictures of him.
There would be a picture on the mantle of her father and him. She was madly in love with him at the time, and he left her because obviously it wouldn't work out. Now she's 25, and she's been living in Nepal since she was 18. It's not only that they like each other, it's a very bizarre thing. It puts a whole new perspective on this whole thing. It gives you lots of stuff to play off of between them. Maybe she still likes him. It's something you'd rather forget about and not have come up again. This gives her a lot of ammunition to fight with.
Is this from like tapes or something?
Yes, they recorded every single session.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Fuck. So Larry Kasdan puts this out and is like, here's a normal conversation that we were all having. Hey there, you are listening to a preview of a premium episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. If you'd like to listen to the rest of this, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/worstofall. And you can listen to not only the rest of this episode, but our entire backlog of premium episodes, bonus episodes, and if you subscribe at the $10 tier, you will get an extra episode of the podcast every single month. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. Hope to see you there.